10 years into marriage, Miles Carter and I had already learned to hate each other on sight. He'd been shipped to the moon and back with a newly famous rising actress, and the internet even voted us #1. In a poll titled, "Which celebrity couple do you want to see divorce the most?" To milk the buzz, our team shoved us onto a divorce reality show. The host asked if we wanted a divorce. We shot each other a look and answered in perfect unison. Yes. Like hell, I'd stay with him. Like hell, he'd stay with me. Then the production team dug up a love letter Miles wrote to me when he was 17, babyish, earnest handwriting. Every stroke careful and sincere. Nora, I like you so much. Let's be together forever. On the divorce show, the host read off the live chat. Viewers want to know. Do both of you still want a divorce? The big screen flashed our faces. Even with the kind of wide-angle lens that makes people look stretched, Miles still looked unfairly good. His jawline was so sharp, it could cut glass, though the collar of his white dress shirt hid part of it, and the comments instantly went feral. My mom asked why my phone screen is so wet. Husband. 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 I can't believe anyone would divorce a face like that. Some people don't know how blessed they are. Miles's long legs, trapped in tailored slacks in a space that felt too small, shifted awkwardly. Yet he still angled his body, like he was trying to get even farther away from me. We met each other's eyes and saw the same disgust staring back. The bastard knew exactly how to play the perfect gentleman in public. No one saw what he was like when the cameras were off. Like hell, I'd keep living with him. We spoke at the same time again, yes. We rolled our eyes at each other and turned away. The host forced a smile. So, how did you two decide to come on a divorce show? Miles leaned back on the couch. Because we got voted #1 in that most wanted divorce poll. The company arranged it. It was a viral social media vote, and our names won by a ridiculous margin. Most of those votes came from shippers, specifically, the shippers of Miles and Serena Blake. Serena was a younger actress from the same studio. The kind Miles kept taking under his wing on set. The fantasy romance drama they filmed 2 months ago had exploded, and edits of the two of them were everywhere. I'd even seen one. On a red carpet, Serena stood in the corner fixing Miles's boutonniere. Miles lowered his gaze to her, and the affection in his eyes practically spilled out. The edit was themed past lives, set to syrupy music. Honestly, if I hadn't been his wife, I might have gotten emotional too. Thousands upon thousands of comments screamed the same thing, just get married already. Then our secret marriage got exposed. The shippers lost it, and started digging up old clips of me and Miles. Back then, our relationship had already hit rock bottom. We sniped at each other in public, undercut each other, made our dislike impossible to miss. Later, in an interview, a reporter asked Miles what he regretted most in his life. Miles went quiet for a long time, then said, getting married. And that was how a mob of angry shippers voted us onto the show. Probably to pour gasoline on the fire, the host played a pre-recorded segment on the big screen. Let's see how the people closest to them evaluate this marriage. They called it friends of both sides, but the only person they showed was Serena Blake. Her makeup was flawless, her smile perfectly measured. Miles is an incredible partner at work, and someone I really look up to, she said. He takes care of people, on set and in life. He's truly outstanding. I just hope someone as outstanding as Miles gets the happiness he deserves. I couldn't stop the cold laugh that slipped out. They asked her to talk about our marriage, and she spent the entire time praising Miles. So any problem in our marriage became my fault, me being difficult, me being unreasonable. Sure enough, the live comments surged. Serena is so gorgeous, even raw camera footage can't do her wrong. Am I the only one who thinks this sounds kind of shady? They asked about the marriage and she's saying what exactly? Stop hating. If you see shady everywhere, maybe that's you. Honestly, Nora doesn't match Miles. Serena has way better chemistry with him. Please divorce, and let him be with Serena. Agree. He doesn't even like Nora. Why is she clinging to him? Gross. I kept my face blank. Truth was, I never wanted to be on this show either. Marriage was already a mess, now we were displaying it to millions like a circus act. Humiliating. But our team told us, if we'd already decided to divorce, we might as well squeeze out one last wave of attention. 300,000 per episode. Who turns down that kind of money? Fine. After these 3 months were over, we could finally be done. That night, Miles picked up his pillow and blanket and walked out. I frowned. Where are you going? Without looking back, he said, the couch. He never once glanced at me. I didn't stop him. We'd been sleeping separately for a long time. And in front of cameras, there was no point pretending. From the crack of the bedroom door, I could see the glow of his phone in the living room. I could even make out the faint curve of a smile on his face, his thumbs moving fast. Serena, I thought. He was texting Serena. I lay flat on my back, staring at the ceiling. For no reason at all, I started thinking about before. There used to be a time when Miles and I talked about everything. We'd share secrets until midnight. Even when he was half asleep, he'd cling to me, rubbing his hair against my neck, whining like a kid who didn't want the night to end. Just a little longer. I'd laugh, itchy from his hair, and shove him away. Do you know what time it is? Aren't you working tomorrow? When did we become two people with nothing left to say? It was probably when his person to share things with quietly changed into someone else. The next day's segment was the heart-to-heart. The host asked each couple why they wanted a divorce. I thought for a moment. Because we can't live like this anymore. The host glanced at the live chat. But Miles has so many fans. Everyone's confused, he's handsome, and he won Best Actor so young. Why would you want to divorce someone who has looks and talent? Looks don't put food on the table, I said with a shrug. We barely talk now. If we can't stand each other, what's the point? And you, Miles? The host asked. Miles pinched the bridge of his nose. His nose was high and straight with the slightest bump, something that didn't ruin his face at all, only made him more memorable. His contempt wasn't even subtle. Because we don't speak the same language anymore. I am away filming all the time. There are so many things we can't talk about. When I come home, it's either silence or endless fighting. He clicked his tongue, impatient. It's exhausting. The live comments flooded in. I feel so bad for him, he's out there working and earning, and he comes home to a wife who just fights with him. Please divorce. Serena is the one who suits him. The way Miles looks at Serena, he's genuinely into her. I want them together so bad. Nora doesn't deserve him. I couldn't help snapping back. Right. A man with a wife, out there playing couple for publicity with another woman, no wonder, it's hard to find common ground. Miles frowned. Can you stop making things up? That was promotion for a new show. Not everyone has a filthy mind like you. We were seconds from a full-blown argument when the host rushed to smooth things over. Do you regret getting together in the first place? Miles nodded, without hesitation. Of course. The biggest regret of my life is marrying her. I lowered my head. My nails dug into my palm, until the sharp pain dulled into numbness. Then, how did you get together back then? The host pressed. The question stunned both of us. It was too far away, so far, it barely felt real. We got together at 17. 13 years had passed. Miles confessed first, didn't he? I tried to remember. He chased me. No way, Miles scoffed. Why would I ever like someone like you? You were the one who wouldn't leave me alone. We were about to start again when the host smiled and pulled out a metal box. Don't fight, your answer is in here. I froze. I'd given that box to my manager to pass to the show. It was stuffed with old little things, random keepsakes from back then. It had been so long I hadn't even checked everything inside, only remembered there were some letters, postcards, that kind of stuff. The host drew out a yellowed sheet of paper, and the camera zoomed in. This is a love letter Miles wrote to Nora when he was 17. Let's read it together. Miles and I looked at each other, equally confused. The frayed paper unfolded, revealing an awkward, youthful handwriting. Nora, my parents talked to me today. They don't want me dating this young. They said it's just impulse, that I won't like you for long. But I think I'll keep liking you. I'll like you, and like you, and like you. We have to be together forever. Every stroke was careful. In that instant, memories I'd forgotten surged up, through the years, and slammed into my mind. 17-year-old Miles, before he turned into someone flawless on the outside, and unrecognizable on the inside. Sweat-darkened hair, stuck to his temple from playing basketball. His jersey was smudged with dirt from who knew where. His eyes were dark, his grin reckless and bright. Nora. He bounced up to me, eyes sparkling. Did you see that shot just now? Wasn't it sick? I refused to praise him on purpose. Didn't see it. His whole expression fell, like a puppy whose tail had dropped, then he forced a grin back into place. It's fine. Next time, your future husband will make it just for you. Who are you calling your future husband? I shoved him, and we laughed, bickering as we ran into the alley. The sunset stretched our tangled shadows, long across the pavement. Miles stared at the letter like it had stolen his soul. He didn't move. In his eyes, a storm of emotions flashed and vanished. The host repeated the question I hadn't answered earlier. Nora, do you regret being with Miles back then? Miles's hand twitched. He turned to look at me. I lowered my gaze to the letter. After a few seconds, I said quietly, no, I don't regret it. We loved each other so fiercely then. When you are young and in love, you never imagine you'll end up hating each other on sight. But why did they have to make me remember the good parts? If I hadn't remembered, maybe the wreckage of what we'd become wouldn't feel so brutal. We really did love each other. We just didn't last. Miles looked dazed. He opened his mouth like he wanted to say something, and in the end, he said nothing. The live comments turned softer too. This hurts. I thought she was the one clinging, but he confessed first. He liked her so much. How did it die? That's what happens when you grow up together. You've seen each other at your best and your worst. Nothing feels new anymore. Of course, the new person outside is more exciting. It's still Nora's fault. He's a Best Actor winner now, she can't keep up. Serena really does suit him better. It was 13 years ago. Why drag it out? Who can love one person for over a decade? Yeah. It was 13 years ago. That year, Miles and I were 17, feelings that burned hotter than fire, reckless and bright. Now, we were close to 30. Whatever flame had lasted this long had already gone out. All that remained was ash embers that would never reignite. That evening, Serena Blake came to visit the set. The other couples, and even the camera crew, glanced at me with an awkward kind of sympathy. I walked over and watched Serena pull several sleek, high-end bento boxes out of her bag, her voice pitched sweet and cutesy. I figured you wouldn't be able to stomach whatever they feed you here, she said to Miles. You are so picky. I had dinner packed up from that place you love. Eat while it's still warm. The way she said it, so natural, so possessive, like she was the wife, and I was the extra. Miles sat beside her, without speaking. He looked distracted, like he was lost in his own head. When he noticed me, he froze for a beat. Serena's lips curved. Nora, want to eat with us? She asked. Miles is kind of particular. When he's filming, he never touches the standard crew meals. I was worried he wouldn't eat right, so I brought food over. You don't mind, do you? One of the other wives let out a small scoff and turned her head away, clearly disgusted by Serena's cheap little provocation. I smiled, calm as glass. If you are not embarrassed to act trashy in public, I said, why would I be embarrassed to watch? And I turned and walked off. Serena's face went stiff with rage. Behind me, a couple of the other guests couldn't hold back their snickers. This wasn't Serena's first time coming at me. It wasn't even close to her worst. A year ago, my mom took a sudden turn for the worse. When I got the call in the middle of the night, I broke down on the spot. I'd moved far from home for miles, going back meant hours on a plane. Panicked, I called him again and again. He didn't pick up once. In the end, all I could do was get on a flight by myself. The red eye cut through the dark. I stared out the window and cried until it felt like there was nothing left inside me. 4 hours later, when I stepped off the plane, my tears had run dry. I couldn't cry anymore. My family said my mom held on for as long as she could, waiting for me. But I was still too late. She didn't leave me a single word. She didn't even get one last look at me. My father had died years ago, so I handled everything alone, paperwork, calls, arrangements, all of it. And in the middle of the worst night of my life, Serena messaged me. It was a photo of her and Miles together. She faced the camera, smiling. Miles turned toward her, watching her with a softness in his eyes that made my stomach drop. Sorry, Nora, her message read. Miles was celebrating my birthday with me last night, so he didn't see your calls. I heard your mom passed away. I told him he should go be with you, but he insisted my birthday was more important. She added a smiley face. Don't blame him. It's my fault. If you want to be mad at me. That was the first time I learned what people mean when they say pain can go past crying. Past screaming. Past anything that looks like grief. It becomes numbness, like time stops, and your body shuts down. I couldn't see. I couldn't hear. I couldn't feel. And then, after what felt like a whole century, the poison of it bloomed slowly in my chest and spread through every vein. I sank to my knees, pressing a fist to my heart as if I could hold it in place. In one night, I lost the two people I loved most in the world. My mother. And the man I'd spent 12 years loving. Miles arrived the next evening. I looked at him and for the first time, didn't fight. Before, whenever Serena was involved, we'd tear each other apart. I'd end up crying and breaking down, humiliating myself, and he'd watch with cold eyes while I unraveled. But this time, I didn't want to say a single word. I finished everything that needed to be done, alone, and got on a plane back. That same night, I sent him the divorce paperwork. The divorce didn't happen. At the time, Miles had signed a high-stakes contract with his company, and splitting assets during a divorce would have turned into a nightmare. His agent begged and pleaded, told me to wait until the contract term was over. As compensation, they promised I'd get an extra 10% in the settlement. That was the day Miles and I finally tore the last scraps of our marriage to shreds. The fire that had struggled to burn for so long went out for good. The next day, the show dropped us in a basement and told us we'd be staying there overnight. The only food they gave us was 3 cups of instant noodles. The host smiled. From what we've learned, this basement is where Miles and Nora used to live, she said. So tonight, we'd like you to stay here again, revisit the past, and maybe rediscover some of those old feelings. I stepped into the cramped, dim little space and felt a brief wave of vertigo. It really was the basement Miles and I once lived in. 7 or 8 years had passed, but almost nothing had changed. Exposed pipes still leaked, dripping steadily, tap, tap, tap. The room could barely fit a narrow bed, and there wasn't even a table. The only window was a tiny square above the toilet, and even in the morning, the place barely saw any sunlight. Miles and I sat on the bed, facing each other, saying nothing. After a long time, he stood up and made a cup of noodles, frowning as he spoke. They only gave us 3 cups, so we have to stretch it across 3 meals. Half and half. And just like that, after all these years, we sat on the bed again and shared 1 cup of noodles, heads close over the steam. The room was the same, but everything else was different. Miles took 1 bite, frowned, and couldn't force down another. The noodles in my mouth turned to paste. I set the soggy strands aside, and neither of us kept eating. Of course. He was used to Serena's premium cooking now, how could he possibly swallow $5 instant noodles? The room fell into silence. 2 people who no longer loved each other, trapped in a sealed space, only made the air feel thicker. I was just about to make an excuse to go outside, when the tiny television in the room flickered on by itself. Static, then. Miles's face filled the screen. A pre-recorded video, something the show had prepared. I blinked. It was Miles when he was younger. He held up his phone with one hand, filming himself, and with the other, he dropped a marinated egg into a noodles cup. 22-year-old Miles had shed most of his teenage softness, but his eyes were still dark and bright, and when he smiled it curved like a crescent moon. He pushed the noodles toward 22-year-old me, like he was presenting treasure. Chef Miles's secret recipe, he announced. Beef ramen, special edition, with a marinated egg. I pouted. Again. I want the tonkatsu one. He poked my forehead. You are lucky you are getting anything. I hit 3 stores downstairs, no tonkatsu anywhere. I'll try again tomorrow. Eat this for now. I even added an egg. I tugged his sleeve and grinned, clingy and smug. Eat with me. He looked into the camera with a helpless, pleased smile. When your wife's this needy, what can you do? Fine, I'll keep her company. And we finished the whole cup, heads together. At the end, Miles lifted the container and drank the broth dry, sighing in satisfaction. I am too good. One short video after another. At night, Miles wrapped an arm around me, from behind. The basement was freezing in winter, water dripped like ice. I shivered so hard, it felt like even the heating blanket had gone cold. I asked him, voice trembling, when you win Best Actor someday, will you take me to walk the red carpet? Of course, he said without even a second of hesitation. I'll thank you first. I'll tell everyone, thank you for giving me the best wife in the world. If it weren't for her, I wouldn't be here. I laughed, and shoved him. Are you insane? He laughed too. I compliment you and you call me insane. Just then, my stomach growled. I rubbed my empty belly and sighed. Miles, when do you think we'll finally have a good life? He went quiet for a moment, then forced a smile. Soon. My friend said he'd ask around at his company, see if they're taking anyone. And if not, I'll go check if any productions need extras. His voice sounded hollow. Nora, you've suffered a lot being with me. Do you regret it? I rolled over and hugged him, grinning. What suffering? You made me special edition, beef ramen with an egg. It's fine, I was just talking. As long as it's us, I am happy. Miles didn't answer. He just held me tighter. A long time passed. Right as I drifted half asleep, I heard him whisper, Nora, I won't let you down. I swear I'll give you a better life. Miles and I didn't say a word after the videos ended. Truthfully, I'd nearly forgotten most of those memories. Back then, Miles loved filming our life, little clips, silly moments, until he got busier, and eventually stopped. After he made it, it was like he'd made up his mind to cut himself cleanly away from the past. He never mentioned any of it again. And he did win Best Actor, in the end. Only the person walking the red carpet with him wasn't me. It was Serena. Their photos were everywhere, front page, trending feeds, looming in front of my eyes for days. And he didn't thank me. He thanked the cast, thanked the crew, thanked Serena, his co-star. The only person he didn't thank was me. The color drained from Miles's face inch by inch. He slowly turned to me like he wanted to look, but didn't dare, and in the end, he just dropped his gaze. The man who used to swear he'd never let me down had already tossed those promises away, and he'd let me down completely. I am sorry, he said, voice shaking. Nora, his fist clenched hard enough for veins to rise, and his words caught like he was about to choke on them. He couldn't finish. I stayed calm. You don't need to apologize. I believe that when you said you'd never let me down, you meant it. It's just that later, when you stopped loving me, you meant that too. The live chat exploded, multiplying by the second. Oh my God, Nora really stayed with him through all those hard years. I kind of get her now. If I stuck by a man at his lowest, and he got famous and started playing couple with another woman, I'd be even angrier than she is. All that face wasted, turns out Miles is trash. I am sick. Serena is the one I am sick over, okay? That's straight up home wrecking. Did Miles force Nora to suffer? She chose it. And when he started earning, did she spend his money or not? Stop acting like a victim. That night, Serena called again. Usually Miles would pick up instantly, but this time, he just glanced at the screen and hit decline. He sat on the edge of the bed, clearly torn. How are we sleeping tonight? Here is only one bed. I looked back at it. A narrow full size, about 5 feet wide. Miles and I had squeezed onto a bed like that for 3 years. Back then, we were broke, but we were full of love, full of hope. Was it hard? It didn't feel hard. Now, he'd made it. He had money. He was a top-tier celebrity. He said I'd suffered with him, sure. Only the bitterness didn't hit until years too late. I stood up and said quietly, I'll go out. You sleep. Miles grabbed my wrist, and to my surprise, there was something like pleading in his voice. Nora, we haven't slept together in a long time. Don't you remember? We were happy here. Isn't that the whole point of this, finding what we had back then? Don't go. Please. Slowly, I peeled his hand off mine. Miles, I haven't forgotten. You have. It was like someone punched him in the chest. His face went paper white. He didn't speak. Then his shoulders folded in, inch by inch. Yeah, he said with a bitter laugh. You are right. I am the one who forgot. I got famous. I got money. I couldn't wait to throw away the version of me that failed. And when I looked at you, you reminded me of those broke, miserable years. It wasn't that I couldn't stand you. It was that I couldn't stand who I used to be. He covered his face hard. I am sorry, Nora. You never forgot. I did. I forgot how much I loved you. I had nothing to say. I didn't even know what words would mean at this point. We'd already reached the place where there was nothing left between us to talk about. After a long time, Miles stood up. His eyes were rimmed with red. He forced a smile. I am going to take a walk. You sleep. I won't bother you. He turned and left. A while later, from outside the door, I heard it, low, muffled sobbing, restrained until it sounded more like grief trapped in a box. I looked at the moon through the tiny window. The moon was still the same moon. But the air in the room had changed. And so had we. The show blew up. And Miles and I, especially Miles, the hottest best actor in the industry, became the center of nonstop gossip. Our marriage was suddenly everyone's favorite spectacle, and people argued about us everywhere. Then a tabloid-style account posted a long insider story the reason Miles likes Serena so much is because back when he was still a nobody, Serena helped connect him to an opportunity. It was that second lead role that won him Best Newcomer and launched his career, so Miles has always been grateful to Serena. Serena had been getting dragged for days as the other woman, and now, with one post, the narrative flipped. Whether it was paid comments or real people, the replies poured in. Serena is actually so kind. Calling her a homewrecker is too much, she didn't even do anything. If it were me, I'd like Serena too. She gets him, she helped him at the most critical moment, and she's gorgeous. It makes sense, he'd fall for her. Yeah, Nora lived in a basement with Miles for a few years, but later it was Serena who stayed by him. Without Serena, there wouldn't be the Miles of today. Serena started popping up on interview after interview. Whenever a host asked if she liked anyone, she would smile sadly and say, "Yes. He helps me a lot, in work and in life. He guides me. I admire him so much. But he already has a partner. We met, too late." The implication was so blunt the internet practically combusted. This is so tragic romantic, when I finally love you, you already belong to someone else. I still think Miles's real love is Serena. With Nora, it's just responsibility. If Nora knows he doesn't love her anymore, why won't she let go? She's so selfish. Why not let Miles be happy? How are you making the other woman sound so pure? Are we really letting looks override morals? Right then, a staff member from Miles's agency, Stariver, posted publicly that role Serena supposedly connected Miles to. Wasn't it the second male lead in The Fallen City? Because if I remember correctly, that role wasn't connected by Serena at all. Nora gave it to Miles. Nora used to be in the industry too. A director wanted her as the female lead in The Fallen City. She tried to bring Miles with her, but the investors said Stariver only had one leading slot, and the rest had to go to other companies. So Nora gave up her own female lead role to secure Miles the second male lead. She told us not to mention it back then, but everyone on staff knows. How did this become Serena's favor? Do you think we all suddenly lost our memory? The internet detonated. Multiple Stariver staff came out to confirm it. Even the director of The Fallen City backed it up. Miles shoved the door open and stormed in front of me, eyes wild. "That role, you gave it to me?" I nodded. Yeah. Back then, he'd been bombing auditions, non-stop. He was so low, he told me more than once he wanted to quit acting entirely. Meanwhile, I'd just started getting a few decent offers. The day I landed the female lead in The Fallen City, I rushed home, excited to tell him the good news, only to find him on the balcony, smoking like his life depended on it. The floor was littered with cigarette butts. He looked unshaven, hollow, like someone had switched off the light inside him. "Nora," he said dully, "I went to another audition today. Rejected again. Maybe I am not meant for this. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this at all." I didn't sleep that night. The next day, I went to the director and recommended Miles. I never told Miles. He had too much pride. If he knew the role came at the cost of mine, he would have refused. The Fallen City was a huge hit, record ratings that year. The actress who replaced me became a household name star. And I never regretted it. What I hadn't known until now was that Serena had taken the credit. It was ridiculous. But I didn't care anymore. Why didn't you tell me? Miles's jaw tightened until the muscle jumped. Emotions churned in his eyes like a storm. I let out a short laugh. "Why do you think?" He froze. He understood. I'd been protecting his pride. His body trembled, and he stumbled back like the truth had physical weight. I didn't want to talk to him anymore. I stood and walked out. Serena's reputation flipped again, hard. Serena is shameless. Stealing someone's credit, and trying to steal her husband too. What kind of trash is that? I am done with Serena forever. Get her out of the industry. Nora is breaking my heart. She protected her husband's pride, and got replaced in her own life. I regret ever shipping them. Nora deserves so much better. Miles didn't. Serena blew up Miles's phone. He didn't answer. So she showed up at the set. She no longer had that composed, confident air. She was crying at the door, screaming, "Miles, please come out and see me. I can explain. It's all a misunderstanding." Miles walked out and looked at her like she was something stuck to the bottom of his shoe. "Miles, listen to me." Serena lunged to cling to him, but he stepped aside, and she crumpled, wailing on her knees. "I admit I was out of my mind and I lied to you, but what we've had all these years wasn't fake. Do you really not care about me at all? Tears streamed down her face, her eyes were swollen and raw. Miles's expression didn't soften by even a fraction. Serena, he said coldly, you disgust me. Then, with open contempt, get out. Don't show your face in front of me again. If you do, you know what happens. Serena stared at him, disbelieving. Then her gaze snapped to me, sharp with hatred. It's you. This is you, isn't it? You did this on purpose. You are trying to ruin me. You are trying to turn him against me, because you can't stand that he likes me. I walked over, and looked down at her. Me? What did I do? I said calmly. Did I force you to lie to him? Serena choked, unable to answer. I gave a small mocking smile. And what relationship am I sabotaging, exactly? Tell me, what relationship can a single woman have with a married man? She bit down hard, silent. I couldn't even be bothered to give her another look. She had no idea the real show hadn't even started. A few days later, Serena's old scandals started surfacing one after another, late-night meetings with a married director, screaming at staff, abusing her power, walking off set. And those weren't even the worst. The worst was this: one of her own staff formally reported her for major tax evasion, tens of millions, with hard evidence. That was the end of her. Brands dropped her overnight. Ads were pulled in the middle of the night. Projects she'd filmed were shelved or cancelled. No platform wanted her name anywhere near them. She was effectively blacklisted, erased from the industry. Some of what happened was pushed along with money, mine. Most of it was rivals kicking her while she was down. Serena had only been rich for a few years, but the tax penalties, plus breach of contract fees, piled into a number so enormous, she couldn't cover it, even if she sold everything she owned. Serena was finished. The show was nearing its finale. The last challenge was a survival as a couple segment, partners working together to make it through. Miles and I were sent to hike up a mountain and camp there for a day. But on the way up, the sky that had been bright and clear suddenly filled with bruised clouds. Thunder rolled like something waking up, and lightning split the horizon in jagged white. Then the rain slammed down, instant, violent sheets. The mountain path was already rough, with the wind whipping and fat raindrops pelting our faces. It was hard to even keep our eyes open. Fog thickened until the whole mountain felt swallowed. And because life loves bad timing, we got separated from the crew in the middle of it. The mud turned slick under my boots. I slipped while climbing and went down hard, fast. Miles reacted on instinct, lunging to grab me. In the split second before I hit, he wrapped his arms around me and took the fall with his body. We tumbled into a shallow ravine. I landed on top of him and came out mostly fine, but his lower leg twisted at a wrong, ugly angle. His face went bone white with pain. I panicked. Miles, are you okay? Soaked through, dripping like a drowned dog, he still forced a faint smile. I am fine, he rasped. Not dead yet. We sat there pressed together, letting the storm beat us down. Mountain rain comes fast and leaves fast. Soon the downpour eased, then stopped. In the muddy wreckage around us, Miles slumped against a tree, looking worse by the minute. He couldn't move. I was frantic. There was no signal. I couldn't reach the crew. I shouted until my throat burned, and got nothing back. Leaning against the tree, I let out a bitter laugh. What, are we going to die up here? Miles chuckled, eyes closed, mouth curving in that rare way I hadn't seen since we fell apart. At least you are here, he said softly. If we're stuck, we're stuck. I rolled my eyes. If you want to die, die alone. I don't. He went quiet for a moment, then said, Nora, I am happy. I couldn't help snapping, are you out of your mind? Your leg is broken, and you are happy. Cold sweat glistened on his forehead, but his eyes held a strange, weightless smile. We haven't been like this in a long time, he said. I am happy. I ignored him and kept calling out. His leg swelled quickly. The light started fading. If we didn't get down soon, we'd be freezing on the mountain overnight. After a while, Miles spoke again. You go, get down, find help, then come back for me. I froze. He tried to sound careless. I am a big-name actor. The show isn't going to abandon me. Hurry, get down. The mountain was huge. Finding one person out here was like trying to scoop a needle out of the ocean. Going down was easier, there was a faint trail we could still make out. But if it rained again and the water washed that path away, Miles might become impossible to find. His leg was bad, because he'd saved me. I couldn't leave him. After a beat, I clenched my jaw, grabbed his arm, and said, "Can you use the other leg?" Then, before he could argue, I added, "I am carrying you." The ravine floor was relatively flat. If I went slow, we could manage. Miles's expression twisted, complicated, pained. "You don't have to," he said hoarsely. "Go." I cut him off. "Stop talking. Get on." He stared at me for a long second, then finally, let me haul him up, half dragged, half lifted onto my back. Miles wasn't bulky, but he was still a 6'1" man, and he nearly crushed me flat. Thank God, I used to be an athlete, I could still grind out step after step down the slope. We were both soaked. His body heat seeped into me. When he laughed, I felt the vibration in his chest against my back. "Nora," he murmured, "you still can't bring yourself to leave me. That's who you are. Too soft-hearted. You never have it in you to abandon people." "Yeah," I said flatly. "I am always trying to be the good one. And look where it got me." He fell silent. A while later, his arms tightened around my shoulders. He buried his face near my neck, and spoke into the damp fabric of my collar. "I know I was wrong." His voice trembled, just enough to hear the plea under it. "Can you give me one more chance? I am begging you. Nora, you didn't leave me. That means you still love me, right?" I opened my mouth, then voices rang out in the distance, calling our names. Branches crashed aside. The crew and a rescue team pushed through the trees, relief spilling over them, like breath after drowning. "Found them. We found them." The answer I'd almost given circled in my throat, and in the end, I didn't say it. Miles's leg was fractured. Thankfully, it wasn't catastrophic, mostly bruises and scrapes besides that. Rest and time would heal it. A few days later, the show filmed the final episode. The theme was reflection and analysis, and then, returning to the very first question. "Do you still want a divorce?" The host smiled at us. "Miles and Nora, your journey hasn't been easy. You faced a lot, and you survived a lot together. Miles, do you still regret getting married?" Miles shook his head. "I used to be stupid," he said quietly. "Sometimes, you walk so far, you lose yourself. It's only when you turn around that you see how wrong you were. I don't regret it. Marrying Nora was the best decision I've ever made." The host pulled up the live chat. "I am crying, I am actually rooting for them now. Please get back together." No, Nora shouldn't take him back. Once a cheater, always a cheater. But he really knows he was wrong. Don't people deserve a chance to fix things? They loved each other so much before. Splitting up feels like such a waste. Then the host turned to me. "And you, Nora?" I didn't hesitate. "I don't regret it either. Back then, when I married him, I truly loved him. Here is nothing to regret about loving someone." Miles's expression flickered. The host asked the real question. "So, do you still want a divorce?" The Miles who'd once answered with absolute certainty went silent, this time. After a moment, he said in a low voice, "I don't. I know it's shameless. I hurt you, and now, I still don't want to let go." He gave a bitter smile. "Selfish, right? But I really don't want a divorce. Nora, please. Give me one more chance. I swear, I'll never hurt you again." I tried to smile, and couldn't. How long had I waited for those words? Too long. "There were nights I dreamed," he said, "I am sorry. I'll never treat you like that again." Okay. And then I'd wake up to his coldness. Did he really feel nothing for Serena? I didn't know. But I knew he'd felt something, admiration, gratitude, novelty, whatever it was. His heart had drifted. I'd loved him once. Then I'd hated him. And now, at the end of this, I realized I didn't love him anymore. I didn't hate him either. What I felt was the flat distance you feel for a stranger. Maybe this show gave him back the sweet memories, reminded him how much he used to love me. But for me, it only forced me to rewatch pain I'd tried to forget. It reminded me how deeply this man had hurt me. And going back would be my own ruin. I spoke softly. "I still want a divorce." Hurt flashed across Miles's face, so sharply his whole body wavered. He begged, voice breaking, eyes flooded red. "Think again. Please. I know I was wrong, wrong beyond words. Hit me, curse me, punish me, however you want, anything." Miles had always been so composed, so careful with his image, yet now, in front of the cameras, he broke down. Sobbing. "Nora, I don't want a divorce. Please, one more chance. Let's not divorce, okay?" He clutched at my hand. I can't live without you. I smiled, small and gentle, and pried his fingers off mine, one by one. I am answering the question you asked me that day. Miles froze, then his face convulsed. He shook his head violently, almost frantic. I don't want to hear it. Don't say it. I don't want to hear it. The crew stared, stunned, too shocked to step in. I enunciated every word. Miles, you asked if I still loved you. So here is my answer. I don't. Not anymore. Not even a little. The finale ended in chaos. When I walked away, Miles was still collapsed on the ground. He cried like a child who'd lost the one thing he loved most, because he knew I wasn't turning back. When I love someone, I love them with my whole life. No matter how it ends, I don't regret that love. But when I stop loving someone, I don't drag it out. I don't hesitate. I don't look back. After the show aired, the attention around Miles and me surged again. More people took my side, plenty cursed him, but his die-hard fans were still legion, and his career didn't collapse overnight. In the end, we still went and finalized the divorce. Miles signed everything over to me, every last asset, and walked away with nothing. He said with a hollow, miserable smile, I can't be good to you anymore. So this is the only way I can make it up to you. I didn't refuse. 3 months later, I was jolted awake by a call in the middle of the night. My friend sounded terrified. Miles announced, he's leaving the industry. I opened social media and saw the post he'd just made, thank you to everyone who's loved me and supported me all these years. Starting today, I'll be stepping away indefinitely. I won't be returning. Sometimes you walk for too long and let the glitter of the world blind you, and you forget what you wanted in the beginning. Making this show reminded me, when I first chased this dream, it was never just for me. It was so I could stop her from suffering with me, so I could give her a better life. I wanted to keep the world from hurting her. In the end, the person who hurt her the most was me. I started down this road because of her. She stayed by my side all these years, and I got used to ignoring her. Now I realize that without her, I can't keep walking this road. Thank you again. I hope you hold your loved ones close, and don't wait until they're gone to learn how to cherish them. Goodbye. I sat there, stunned. My friend kept asking, now that he's leaving the industry, and he gave you all the money, how is he supposed to live from here on out? Then she lowered her voice. I think he really loved you. I think he truly understands he was wrong. You've been together so many years, it wasn't easy. Maybe you could forgive him. I lowered my gaze. If I forgive him, I said softly, who forgives me? Because it hadn't been easy, that was exactly why he couldn't be forgiven for letting go so lightly. We'd survive storms together. I thought we were the exception. I thought we were special. I didn't understand until now, suffering together is easy. Sharing happiness is the part people fail. If I forgave him, what would I do with all those nights of silent crying? With the months of my heart breaking in the dark? And if I stayed, every time I looked at him, I would see Serena. I would never get past it. I'd spend the rest of my life torturing myself. My friend went quiet. I hung up and lay back down. I thought I wouldn't be able to sleep. I was wrong. I fell asleep quickly. In my dream, I was 17 again, sitting beside Miles on a train racing through the night. He propped his face in his hands and stared at me, smiling. I got shy and snapped, annoyed. Why do you keep looking at me? He raised an eyebrow, handsome and cocky. I am looking at my wife. What's it to you? We tussled and laughed, and then he looked a little older, early 20s now. Bringing over a bowl of beef noodles, smugness written all over his face. Master Miles's special beef noodles, with the deluxe marinated egg. We pressed our heads together, and shared one bowl. He pushed the egg to my lips. Eat. I took a bite, cheeks puffed, mumbling around it, half and half. The train kept moving. He grew older again. He wore a perfectly cut suit now, and he looked at me and spoke like an oath, slow and solemn. I promise to be your husband. From today on, we belong to each other. We will support each other, in good times and bad, in wealth and in poverty, in sickness and in health. We will love and cherish each other until death parts us. Then he dropped to one knee and slid a ring onto my left hand. People around us clapped and cheered, blessing us. Time passed. The faces around us came and went. The person beside us changed. And we changed too. We stopped talking. We stopped looking at each other. Even when our eyes met, they were cold, without a trace of warmth. In the end, We didn't even sit together anymore. Finally, the train slowed to a stop. I lifted my luggage to get off. Miles panicked at last, standing up and shouting, "Where are you going?" Across the crowd, our eyes locked. I curved my lips into a smile. "I am getting off," I said. "You keep going on your own." Miles tried to chase me, but the doors had already closed. We could only stare at each other through the glass. He pounded the window, tears streaming, desperate. "Nora, Nora, get back on. Where are you going?" "I'll go with you." I only smiled and waved. "Goodbye, Miles. I'll walk with you only this far." He screamed like something inside him tore apart, and the train began to move. Our figures shrank in each other's eyes, smaller and smaller, until the car roared forward and disappeared. I closed my eyes. A tear slid down the side of my face, and darkened the pillow beneath it. On the journey of a life, two people can share a stretch of the road. But some roads end earlier than you ever expect. From here on, the sky is wide, the distance is long. We walk alone. Goodbye, Miles.